All right, today we are diving into something we all deal with. And let's be real, it can be so frustrating. I'm talking about the quest for a good night's sleep.
So let me just ask you straight up. How did you sleep last night? I mean, really, were you one of those lucky people who was out like a light the second your head hit the pillow? Or was it another one of those nights? Tossing, turning, your mind just racing?
You know, it really feels like there are two kinds of people in this world. First, you've got the easy sleeper. This is the person who can fall asleep anywhere. A crowded train, a plane, you name it, no problem. And then there's the tired trier. This is the person who needs the whole shebang, the eye mask, the earplugs, total darkness, just to have a shot at getting some rest. And the difference between the two, it's just wild.
So let's get into it. This really begs the question, right? Why is it so easy for some people and such an uphill battle for others? Well, it turns out a big piece of the puzzle comes down to factors that, well, they're surprisingly out of our control.
So what are those factors? Well, there are really three big ones. First up, you've got the genetic lottery. Seriously, you're just dealt a certain hand at birth with thousands of genes that can affect how you sleep. Then there's something called the safety factor. Basically, your brain is hardwired for survival, and it's just not going to switch off if it doesn't feel safe. And finally, of course, there's your mental and emotional state. Anxiety, a racing mind, they are absolute sleep killers.
I love this analogy because it makes so much sense. Imagine trying to fall asleep with your front door wide open. No way, right? Your brain would be on super high alert. Well, for some people, especially if they felt unsafe when they were younger, their brain can get stuck in that high alert mode. It was a useful survival skill back then, but it's not so great when you're an adult just trying to get a decent night's rest.
Okay, so let's say you do feel safe and your genes are on your side. What's actually going on in your brain when you finally drift off? This is where it gets really fascinating. Let's take a little trip inside the science of sleep. All right, let's meet the star of the show. It's a chemical called adenosine. Think of it like a sleep pressure meter in your brain. All day long, as your brain works, it produces this stuff. And it just builds and builds and builds, creating this powerful, undeniable pressure to sleep. And then, when you finally do rest, your brain goes into cleanup mode, clearing it all away so you can wake up feeling refreshed. Now, for a long, long time, scientists thought they had sleep pretty figured out. They said it was a journey through 4 clear stages. You go from light sleep to deeper sleep to the deepest sleep and then into REM sleep. That's when you have all those crazy dreams. And we cycle through this whole thing roughly every 90 minutes. It all sounds so neat and tidy, right? Well, maybe not. What if I told you that whole 4-stage model is being completely turned on its head? The new number that researchers are talking about isn't 4, it's 19. Yeah, you heard that right, 19. Some amazing new research out of Oxford suggests there could be that many different stages. And here's the kicker. We don't even go through them in order. You might jump from stage 4 to 9 to 12, then back to 2. It means there are all these different pathways into sleep, which makes the whole thing way more complex and, honestly, way more incredible than we ever thought. And all this complexity just goes to show how incredibly important sleep is. So, what happens when we don't get enough of it? The price you pay for a bad night's sleep is a lot steeper than just feeling a bit tired the next day. And I want to start with this pretty serious warning from a sleep expert, Dr. Jonathan Tam. He explains that sleep is basically your brain's overnight cleaning crew. And if that crew doesn't show up for work, toxins can build up. And there's even evidence suggesting this could put us at a higher risk for really serious conditions like Alzheimer's down the road. And the problems just keep piling up. It's like a domino effect. When you don't get good sleep, your brain can't process memories or trauma properly. Your immune system takes a hit, which is why you might get more of those annoying colds. It can even make vaccines less effective. And on top of all that, your brain just makes you feel completely wiped out, basically screaming at you to get the rest it needs. Okay, I know that all sounds a little doom and gloom, but here's the good news. You are not powerless here, not at all. So let's switch gears and talk about what you can actually do about it. Let's build a practical toolkit you can start using tonight. First things first, your environment. We need to master your surroundings. Think of your bedroom as a sanctuary that's designed for one thing, and one thing only, rest. The 3 magic words here are dark, quiet, and cool. For the dark part, blackout curtains or a good eye mask are your best friends. For quiet, a simple pair of earplugs can work wonders. And for cool, you're aiming for around 19 degrees Celsius. That's about 66 Fahrenheit.
These sound like small things, I know, but trust me, they can make a huge difference. All right, so once you've got your sleep sanctuary set up, it's time for part 2, mastering your habits. The little things you do every day can have a massive impact on how you sleep at night. Let's break it down into some simple do's and don'ts. On the do list, definitely try to get some bright light first thing in the morning. It helps set your internal clock. And wind down before bed with something relaxing, like reading a book or chatting with a friend. On the don't list, avoid that bright screen light late at night, and please try not to work from your bed. And a big one, no caffeine after lunch. Remember our friend adenosine? Well, caffeine literally gets in there and blocks the receptors that detect that sleep pressure, which is how it keeps you awake when your body wants to rest. But what happens when you're doing all the right things and you're still just lying there wide awake, staring at the ceiling? This is where Dr. Tam has a fantastic rule. It's simple. Get out of bed. Don't just lie there getting more and more frustrated. Go to another room, do something boring and relaxing, and only come back to bed when you actually feel sleepy again. And the reason for this is so important. The whole point is to retrain your brain. You want it to associate your bed with sleep, and only sleep. Not with the stress and the frustration of being awake when you desperately want to be asleep. And to wrap up the tips, here's a hilarious and super relatable story that reminds us to pay attention to the little things. One of the researchers was struggling with sleep for 3 months. Turns out she'd accidentally mixed up her coffee pods. She was drinking decaf in the morning and a full-strength coffee right before bed. Once she fixed that, you guessed it, she started sleeping so much better. Sometimes the answer is right under our noses.
So, that brings us to you. We've covered a lot. Genetics, your brain chemistry, your environment, your habits, even your coffee. So my question for you is this. What's the one small change you're gonna make starting tonight to get a better night's sleep?